Hi, this is a quick demo review of the Gotharman tool, which is a 4-channel multifunction module. Each channel can be set differently and it can be many things. It can be a modulator, which is a complex CV generator, complex envelope, or simple sequencer. A channel can be an oscillator with different oscillator models and with many wave shaping options. And channel can be set to a filter. You have different filter models, and like a vowel one. It can be an FX, or you will find many classical FX like phaser or delay, but you will find some typically Gotharman's FX too, and it will sound like Gotharman instruments. It can be a complex VCA because it can be a VCA, crossfader, or a ring modulator. As you can see, you have 4 outputs, and these 4 outputs are hardwired to each of the channels, which is not the case for the 8 CV inputs. 4 CV inputs are decoupled, and 4 CV inputs are accoupled, and they are freely assignable to any of the channels. And of course, you can use internal outputs for internal patching, but we will see that after. As you can see here, you have 3 encoders for navigating the modules. On the top of the screen, if you have any of the text on a black background, it's because the encoder changed the parameter you can see on screen, as you can see here. And if you want to change channel, you click on the first encoder. As you can see, now the channel is on black background, and you can now choose between channel. For now, all the channel is a modulator, so the same things. And for the page of the selected channel is the same thing. You click on the second encoder and you can navigate between the page. Once you are in the page you want, you just click one time and you can choose here with a 3 encoder the value on the screen. The last one is menu for more complicated things. So you can choose the channel behavior. Here is modulator, but as I said before, it can be an oscillator, filter, FX, or VCA. You can link adjacent channel for stereo operation. You can link 1 and 2 and 3 and 4. It has MIDI option and it has a MIDI expansion, which I don't have, as you can see. You can copy and paste one channel to another. You can load and save because it has presets. So let's, for example, load the preset 1. And as you can see, the preset 1, channel 1 is a phaser. Channel 2 is an oscillator, channel 3 is a delay, and channel 4 is a granulator. So let's load an empty one with 4 channel as modulator. It can randomize a channel, so it's really interesting for find a new sound, and you can randomize channel on trigger, which is really interesting, I think. Alright, so here is how you use it. So let's now deep see the different things you can do with channel. On the first one is the modulators. So as you can see here, mod. It's a 8-step CV generator. You can trig it, so it can be an envelope, or you can loop it, so it can be an LFO or a complex CV generator. Let's loop it for this example, so you can see what we are doing on this shitty oscilloscope. And let's select the last step will be 2, so we have a rising step, an hold step, and a falling step. So 2. And as you can see here now, you can see it move between the 2 steps. So for editing the steps, you choose the steps you want to edit here. You have the first step, which is the rising one. You have the hold step between the rise and fall, and the step 2, which is the falling one. So of course you have 8 other steps, but for now let's just use 2 and you will see how it works. And just imagine you can have 8 steps. So first let's introduce some time for the rising step. And as you can see here, we now have some time for the rising step. Of course, we can change the curve. Here it's a S curve, but it will go to logarithmic to exponential, to another S-curve with a plateau at the center. So you can really choose the curve of the steps. Here, let's take a linear one, for example. Now, let's edit the step 2 by add some time. Alright, so now you see we add some time to the falling step. Of course, we can change the curve for these steps too. So it can be, as before, an S logarithmic, exponential, or the S with a plateau. Let's build something like a triangle wave. And now we can change the hold step 1. So it's the hold part of the waveform. So we can add some time here. As you can see, the hold is now longer, and we can choose the level of that. So if we reduce below 0, we will reduce the step level, but if we go past 0, it will create some ripple of this step. For example, here, as you can see, it creates some ripple of the first stage. So let's reduce this, bring back to the more triangle wave. Of course, we can do that to the stage 2 too. For example, go to stage hold 2, and we can change the time, as you can see here. And we can create ripple, like we do before. So it's really easy to create some complex modulation with this. Once you have edited all the steps you like, you can save them, and this is really easy because you can create some really complex CV generation with that. And of course, since you can trig it, it can be a complex envelope. You have some modulation option. And you have the rate. So once you have set the 8th step or the 2 like we do, you can change the rate of all the steps at once, as you see here. Alright, so you have some modulation option. For example, you can modulate the rate of the CV generator you just made, or the curve parameter, or the level. And with that, it can create some really complex waveform. It's really interesting for create complex modulation. As I said before, you can trig it for use it as an envelope, and you can choose which step is the hold step if you send the gate like for an envelope. So now the oscillators. As the manual says, the oscillator were designed with the intention on create experimental sound rather than clean sound. As that's really true, you can create some really crazy sound with this oscillator. So let's see the parameters they have. So you have the tune, the shape, and the pulse width modulation. The pulse width modulation have action on every oscillator models, even if it's not a square. And the shape is the wave shaper of each oscillator. It have a different function. On page 2, you can choose between the different oscillator types. You have sine, triangle, saw, square, feedback, and fall. Right after, you will find the fine and glide parameter. On page 3, you have the wave 2. You can, once you have your oscillator, you can add a second one, which is a copy of the first, and you can detune it, which here you are in phase with the detune function here. You can make a second one with a beating oscillator, and with the detune parameter you can fine-tune this. I will show you how it sounds in minutes. And for the end of the chain, you have a wave folder. It's a special kind of wave folder. I will show you how it folds the wave. On this one, you can't modulate it. Right after, you have the pitch modulation for FM. And the amounts, you have the volt per octave input, because you can send a volt per octave input to this oscillator. You can choose which CV. Right after you have the shape modulation, pulse wave modulation, the oscillator mode. It can be an oscillator, fast LFO or a slow LFO. At the end, you have the detune modulation, will depend of the parameter you have here. So I will quick load preset I have made where I can show you all the wave shapes you can obtain with the oscillator. I know this shape and pulse wide are not to zero. This is because I'm gonna CV it with gliss with the two fader here, and they are bipolar control. So you can see here we are inside oscillator, as you can see on this shitty oscilloscope. So first, here is the shape. As you can see, it looks like a waveform with a high offset. And here is the pulse wave modulation. So you can create some variety of waveform. Of course, you can modulate the parameter I choose. And now let's go to the wave 2. So let's create a copy of this oscillator and detune it. So you can obtain a new waveform, and of course you can CV this. And for now it's another oscillator, we move the phase, but we can have another oscillator on a detune function, like this one. It will sound familiar. Remove the second one. Alright, and here is the fold. Let's put a clean sine wave so you can see how the fold works. Once it's at the bottom of the waveform, it will create a ripple at the top. It looks like a wave wrapper. And of course, with the other parameter, you can create some crazy sound. Let's add and of course, remember this is an oscillator, so bring back to the original waveform. Alright, so this is for the sine wave oscillator, but let's see how oscillator models sound. So you have sine, you have triangle. This one, the wave shaper is like that. On the pulse wide. After you have the saw wave, this is a more experimental one. It can sound crazy glitch. This is the wave shape. And this is the pulse wave. This is the square wave. Wave shape. Pulse wave. This is the feedback wave. The wave shape look like anti-aliasing filter or smooth the wave. And here is the pulse wave. And the last one is the 4 oscillator wave shape. Pulse wide. And of course, remember, all of of these parameters can be modulated, and you have the wave 2. So let's make some modulation to this one. The 4 oscillator. Let's add the second waveform. And let's follow. Let's change the cycle time. Let's change the digit. Change the foot. Then change once again the oscillator. Like, the feedback one is interesting, but I found something we need to reduce the tuning. So as you can hear, you can create some really interesting waveform, and unlike how this oscillator can sound. So now let's see the next option you have is filter. Alright, so now the filter, as you can see, it have 5 pages. On the first one you can find the 2 cutoff and the resonance, which is shared by the 2 cutoff point. On the page 2 you can choose the VCF type. Here is the 2 band pass, but you can have a high pass parallel to a low pass, or a high pass to a low pass, or the vowel filter, which use the vowel table you have here. It will change the filter response. We'll see that in a moment. And here are the input. Let's bring back to the dual band pass. Here you have the cutoff 1 modulation. As you can see, it's already set because that will use gliss as before for modulate the filter. The cutoff 2 is the same by CV2. Once again, I will use gliss. And you have the resonance. So let's hear how they sound first while using a saw wave from warp into the input. And use the 2 CV output of gliss for modulate the cutoff 1 and cutoff 2. So here is the first band pass. Second one. Now with resonance. The filter doesn't self-oscillator, but if you go to high resonance, you can create some high resonance peak and they can go clipping. Let's hear that. They're really nice when they are pinged. So now let's see another filter, bring back the resonance to 0, or at the start 6 is alright. So next filter is high pass parallel to a low pass. High pass parallel to a low pass with resonance. Once again, they doesn't self-oscillate, but if you go at the maximum resonance, you can create some high resonant peaks and clipping. Alright, so now let's hear the next filter, which is an high pass into a low pass. Let's put the resonance. With more resonance. Let's. As before, they doesn't self-oscillate, but as you can hear, if you go really high on resonance, you can create some high resonance peak. And now let's experiment the last filter type, which is the vowel one. So the vowel filter works in conjunction with this vowel table parameter. It will change the filter response around the cutoff. So now let's put on one and hear how the filter behave. So first you have the cutoff. Vowel table, this parameter you can move in it, so let's add some resonance for hearing more the vowel. Once again, it doesn't self-oscillate, but you can create some high resonance peak. And now let's hear how the vowel table sounds. So you can show the filter response. So here, cutoff. Here's the vowel table 1. On 064. So you will find an interesting response, I'm sure about that. So here is for the filter, the next one will be the FX. So a channel can be an FX. As you can see, it has 7 pages. On the first one is blank, is because you first need to select the FX type. On page 2, as you have the input and the mix, which I put the dry wet at the middle for sound example. So let's select, for example, the chorus. As you can see now on the first page, you have some parameter of the chorus, no feed, time, and deepness. After the path 3, it's empty for chorus, but some FX have additional parameter here. And after we'll find the CV modulation, here feedback, CV, time, deep, and the dry wet CV. So some of FX, like for example distortion, have more option in the first page. Like as you can see, you can choose the type of distortion. Let's hear how this sound with this saw from warp. Let's drive this saw. Slightly more. So as as you can hear, you have some distortion option. After what we have with the sample bit reduction, I will not demo this one. A wave folder, you have a saw animator. Right after, this is more a wave shaping option. You have a resonant EQ. Comp filtering, this one is interesting because you have some option of the comp filtering here. You can choose a mode. So let's hear how it sounds first. Let's modulate this parameter with LFO just have here. And as you can see, you can choose a mode on path 3. It can be a comb, a phaser, or an all-pass filter, and it will change how the edge distortion responds. All-pass, after you have a compressor with a sidechain input and the overshifter. This is a strange one, so let's hear it. You have the frequency, the feedback, and the ring modulator. Now we have at the end of the effect list of channel 1, because some of the effects which are power hungry can only be affected at channel 3 and 4. So let's see that on channel 3. I have a copy of what we have on channel 1. So you can see now right after the overshifter we have sample pitch, pitch shaper, pitch shaper 2, which are two channels try to follow the pitch of the first one. Pitch shifter, the stretch, modulation delay, granulator on reverb. Let's, for example, since I have for now an oscillator, let's try the pitch shaper. Alright, so some of the effects have a sensibility parameter. The idea of that is when you near 0, it tries to follow as faster as possible of the input material, and when you go up, it will start to granulate, and after some time it can go without moving. So let's hear how it sounds with this one. Here, with high sensibility, and with reducing sensibility. As you can hear, it can really change how the FX responds, so it's a fine-tune to do because it really depends on the input material. Here we have for the feedback and octave updates. Alright, so bring back the price again. Alright, so pitch shaper, for example, let's the pitch shifter is another good example of one which have a sensibility. Go up in octave and just reduce the size. As you can hear now, it's granulating. As you reduce the sensibility, it will be more immediate. And you have some more, as I said before, like the granulator or the reverb or thing like that. Let's for example, demonstrates the granulator. It works better with other materials than a raw oscillator, so let's just use a record radio I have here. Just amplify it a little bit. Alright. Alright, go into input one. Let's first hear the dry signal. Let's try with the fixed. That's just sample wich, for example. Let's just run it up somewhere. As you can hear, it can produce a variety of strange glitchy FX, and that's the beauty of some of these FX. You need to try it and try with different input material, and you can obtain some really interesting things. And now, as you can see, the VCA, it has only one page and 3 parameters, 1 input, 1 modulation and 1 X input. So let's patch it as a normal VCA while using the output of warp in the input here. Let's put the output here and the CV with gliss. In CV1, as you can see, input is input 1, CV is CV1, so now it's a regular VCA. But on the modulation input, if you don't put a CV but an audio or something like that, you will have some ring modulation. Let's use input 2 for that, so it's IC couple. You get the idea. And now, another thing you can do is bring back the modulation on CV1. You can use the X input, for example, by into and put an oscillator here. And now bring the modulation CV1 into CV1. It's a crossfader. So here is how you can use 3 different ways the VCA of Tuul. So it was a quick review demo about the Gotharman's tools. As you can see, I didn't review all the aspects of the modules, like for example the FX. I don't sound demo every FX because some are really classical one. I really love the module and how it sounds. It sounds really Gotharman instruments, really crazy digitalness. One thing you need to know, it's a good idea to have an amplification near the Gotharman tools, because some of the channel models, like the filter for example, can have a little bit of volume loss between the sound input and the sound output, and it will nice to have VCA with amplification near the modules. And the other thing is, it's a really digital craziness, so sometimes have an analog filter right after is a good idea too. I love how the module works and how it can solve problems in small case. One thing can be, I think, improved is the encoder. It can be sometimes a little long to go to the maximum and the last value. Perhaps encoder acceleration can fix that. I really love it, and I hope it will help you to understand how it works and how it sounds. Bye bye.